Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking time and joining us on this special day of International Women's Day. We all have our own stories to tell, and we all have our own experiences to share. The goal and objective of leadership in women is to recognize and highlight women who have done significant work and continue to do significant work in different aspects of life, especially in the fields and professions and industries which we have not been correlating with women working in those industries and leading them. So we are in treat tonight with our leader, Kerry Siggins of StoneAge Inc., whom we are recognizing tonight. So before we will have a conversation, a deep conversation with Kerry, we are going to go through the framework of leadership in women, what it is and why it is important to understand the background, so that when we understand Kerry's own journey, we can relate those concepts with our conversation. When I started thinking about leadership in women in 2013, 2014, living my own experiential life in a very male-dominated industry of architecture, I thought that it is because of the nature of the industry that it has been historically male-dominated. Women are not considered leaders. Women are not taken as leaders. This is not about one industry which is male-dominated. This is about a very entrenched mindset which we have in our brains. I developed this framework and I'm going to go over some of the components of it. Why we are here? Because leadership throughout history, from the beginning of time, has not been attributed to women in a sense where we want to see it today. And the contributions of women have been ignored largely. From the part of the world in South Asia I came from, I came across a very respectable woman. She was working to alleviate leprosy in the country. And she was not even from Pakistan, but she worked over there. Her name is Dr. Ruthfau. She passed away in 2018, but she worked there for over 52 years to try to help people who were suffering from leprosy. But we don't know about her. We don't know about the work of Dr. Ruthfau in the larger world. That's what led to this framework, that why we are here, because we are not elevating the work of women in non-traditional and traditional fields. It is a continual effort to recognize the positive perception about women as leaders and their inherent leadership strengths. So in this framework, there are three elements which I want to focus on. The emotional intelligence. How many of you have heard that women are emotional? All of us, in many different ways. It doesn't matter where you come from in the world. But is that a bad thing? No. Women have been leading, women have been working, managing their homes and managing the life of the entire families and the entire communities. So if they are only labeled as emotional, is that correct? Empathy is an inherent characteristic which women have all the time. They use it. And grit, the obstacles and hurdles we talked about, we have always faced them, and our grit has helped us in moving forward. Now we will come to the women of the hour. We have Kerry Siggins of StoneAge Inc. So Kerry, please tell us what your industry is and what does it mean?
Yes. So we basically make squirt guns and steroids at StoneAge. So what is that? It's a high pressure water blasting tools and automated equipment for industrial cleaning. Our products are used to clean refineries, food processing plants, sewer cleaning tools, and it's not a very broadly known industry, but it is incredibly important.
So that is amazing, Kerry. On a purpose, I asked first to tell us about your industry. Now tell us, who is Kerry?
Well, I would say I'm a work in progress. The need to always be evolved. I think that probably defines me the very best, is that just an evolving human being trying to be the very best leader that I can be. I grew up in rural Colorado, a small town. My passion is leadership. I love growing and scaling a company, and doing that through the lens of the employee experience and entwining that with the customer experience to create real value. So I like to move my body and do maybe what some people would consider some extreme things, but I like to push myself, whether that's in work, whether that's in life, whether that's in athletics. It's always about pushing.
Thank you for sharing that. And each one of us is a work in progress, even if we don't know that we are work in progress. Going back to the introduction you gave about your industry, now can you put some numbers to that industry, that how big it is and how big your niche area is?
So worldwide, industrial cleaning is a multi-billion-dollar industry. My little portion of water jetting is probably about 2 billion.
Now walk us through how you got to this industry and this niche. Because I asked you that how many women are in this industry, and you said 3.
Yeah, 3 CEOs in the entire industry that I know of. Yeah. So my journey is to become a CEO is not one that many people follow, not one that I would recommend following. It all started when I was in high school. I was a boundary pusher. Obviously, I like to jump out of helicopters to ski and push myself. So I'm a boundary pusher. And I got into a bit of trouble. And my mom basically said, when you are 18, you are out of this house. I put my head down. I said, I'm going to go to Colorado School of Mines, which is the most difficult school to get into in Colorado, an engineering school. And I'm going to get a softball scholarship because my mom can't afford to put me through college. And I did that. And when I got to mines, I realized I'm not meant to be an engineer, but there was no way I was quitting. So I put my head down and I just worked hard, 2 degrees in 4 years, playing softball, working multiple jobs. It was a means to an end. And I came to this small little town and I had no idea what I was going to do when I got here. StoneAge was looking for a manager. And so I've been working in manufacturing operations. So I said, apply for it. And if I don't get it, maybe it'll allow me to get my foot in the door for another position that I'd be more qualified. And the founders and the management team at the time saw something in me and decided to give me a chance to take over running the company. And then 3 years later, I was named CEO. That word grit, I think that's a very important aspect of who I am. It's just putting my head down and saying, I am determined to make a better life for myself, even though I've made bad decisions, and proving I can do that, proving to myself I can do that over and over again.
Was there any point during this journey where you felt you cannot make it out of it?
Oh yeah, there's been several times. One actually just happened a couple of years ago, and my second in command basically told me, you think you're a disruptive CEO, but really you're just erratic. And I went home and I was devastated. I really sat there and questioned, can I do this? Is he right? So I think it's a common thing to be filled with self-doubt. It's about what you do with that self-doubt. You let it fuel you to make you better, or do you succumb to it? And my mission in life is to never succumb to my self-doubt.
But do you think that women self-doubt themselves more than the counterparts?
I think everybody has self-doubt. I think it's easier for men to push through it. And I know that they have self-doubt. I think they're just better at, faking it till they make it. Maybe women just feel it more deeply and get paralyzed by it more often than men do.
What about the opportunities? Did they present it themselves, or you have to go and find them?
I think it's a combination of both. Every decision that you make in your life is going to lead to a certain outcome. I had to work hard to prove myself, and then those created more opportunities. And so I think it's a combination of making it happen, of being in the right place at the right time, of understanding that every little decision that you make leads to exactly this point in your life, and how do you use that to feel the opportunity for, feel your chances of creating these types of opportunities, and then being brave enough to step into them.
So, Kerry, it is not a one-way street that someone saw potential in you and offered you a position or invested more in your development. How emotional intelligence has played a role in it.
I can't fathom that I would be where I am today without emotional intelligence, because it allows me to see the things that maybe other people don't see when I'm working with my teammates, working with customers, working with suppliers, working with partners, and I pick up on those cues and be able to dig a little bit deeper. So it's a huge part of who I am, and definitely part of my success. And I think that for people who have high emotional intelligence, it's really helpful in developing your ability to inspire people and influence people and lead people.
How does that go with the idea of flawed leadership?
So when I started talking about my personal journey and my story, I was very, very scared of being judged, but what I found is that when I started embracing my flaws and openly talking about my flaws, that people were more open about sharing their own. And I built deep relationships and deep connections with people. And unfortunately, we put too many leaders on a pedestal, expecting them to be perfect. And I think leaders put them too much pressure on themselves, thinking that I have to show up as, a perfectly put together. I have my life in order. I can handle this stress. I don't get burned out. And we put on this facade, and we're not that. We're all humans, and humans are very messy, and we all have our flaws. We all have our dark side to us, but that's what makes us human. And it's what allows us to connect with people.
So tell us about your experience with empathy and how it has helped in your leadership.
Great leaders know how to read people. They know how to support people. They know how to be able to say, yeah, I understand exactly where you are, and that's really crappy, but here's what we're going to do to help you get out of it. And so that's how I look at empathy, as a way to be able to support people, understand where people are coming from, and then to maybe help them if they are ready for kind of help.
Empathy is not same as sympathy. We can all sympathize with anything and everything around us, but empathy is putting ourselves in the shoes of the other person and feeling what they are going through, and if we were in those shoes, what we will feel, and then make a decision based on that. So I appreciate that you use empathy as your guiding principle. You must have used all of these together to help you transform your challenges into opportunities. And if you can give us an example of how you have done it or how you are doing it.
So on February 22nd, 2020, right before the pandemic hit the US, StoneAge got an encryption attack, and we were hit with ransomware, and our entire IT system was shut down. And my IT manager called me and she said, hey, I don't know what's going on, but I think we might have been hacked. Come into the office and let's figure this out. And I remember going through this experience and being at a loss, right? Because this doesn't happen to small little businesses in rural Colorado. How could this have happened to me? What are we going to do? How much is this going to cost us? I am not an IT person. I don't know how to lead through this. And I went home and I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? First thing I said, grit, right? Like, you can get through an encryption attack. You got to tap into the grittiness of you. Then I tapped into, to that empathy of, okay, I have all of these employees who are going to be looking to me for guidance, who are going to come in on Monday morning and go, what do I do? How do I do my work? I can't log into my computer. How can I be empathetic to their fear and their the uncertainty of the situation and tap into how to motivate them through to do what we're going to have to do to get through this. And then using emotional intelligence was, okay, I know that I'm scared. How do I get through this myself so that I can lead with emotional intelligence with the rest of my team? And lots of people worked really hard to be able to get through that. And I used emotional intelligence constantly to be able to check in with them, like, hey, I think I'd be burning out. You need to take a day off while we get through this. It's okay. And that's really how all three of us kind of go together.
What do you think? What is the role of women leadership?
Hands down, we have to have women in leadership. I am a huge proponent of diversity, and so I like to surround myself with people who think differently than me, that bring different perspectives. And that's what women do, is they bring an entirely different perspective to the table. We've been marching down some pretty scary things and not handling them particularly well on the world stage. And there's very few women who have been the ones out there marching us down this path. And I think if we have more women in leadership positions to be able to bring that diversity of thought, a whole different temperament, approach, mindset to the table, that we would look at problems differently and solve them differently. And I think that's important.
You must have been asked to be a mentor, and you might have mentored other people. What is the role of mentoring during this journey?
Yeah, I have had so many phenomenal mentors in my life, and I'm incredibly grateful for them. I think the biggest thing that makes a mentor-mentee relationship successful is the being open to what that person is going to tell you. And so I've just tried to develop relationships with people to learn from them.
What advice will you give to women?
What I would say to women looking at roles or looking to be in leadership roles is find your voice and use it well. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to have a seat at the table. And you also need to understand that emotional intelligence piece, how your voice is showing up. So I've definitely made mistakes where I've come in and I've demanded things or have handled situations poorly. And I've owned that and refined how I approach things so that I can influence the outcome that I want. And I always think about that when I'm using my voice. What outcome do I want out of this? And how am I going to best achieve that with the skills, the talents, communication style? And so I use my voice and I use it well. And I really encourage all of you to do the same thing, is find what you're great at, go after that, and then use your voice.
Thank you, Kerry. Personally, I want to thank you for being here and playing a role model role in your own industry.